will call the meeting of August 20th, Thursday, for the Town of Corte Madera Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Do we want to take roll? Rebecca, oh, you left. I guess we're not.
I haven't left yet.
Are we broadcasting?
Okay. You are broadcasting, yes.
We're broadcasting. Do you want to take roll, Rebecca, or should we just walk around and have everybody say who they are?
RJ, do you have the...
Sure.
I don't have the agenda.
Yeah, I got it. Chair Ravazio.
Here.
Vice Chair McPherson.
Here.
Committee Member Bartlett. Committee Member Bartlett.
Here.
Okay, mute. Committee Member Garza.
Here.
Committee Member Longinati.
Longinati here.
Sorry, Longinati. Committee Member Madden. Committee Member Madden. We'll come back. Committee Member Knopfziger.
Tom is muted.
Okay. Did we get a... Okay, great.
There we go. Unmute. Hello, I'm here.
Okay. Committee Member Madden's here. Great.
I've been
Thank you.
watching my son the last few days trying to do this. This is hard.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, RJ. Now, if you can join me in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America. For the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
liberty, and justice for all. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the minutes of the February 20th meeting. Are there any changes or addition to the minutes? And if not, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Bob, I looked and could not find the minutes. They were not attached to the packet that I got. And it was an important meeting that I wanted to look over the minutes because it dealt in big part with the Madera roundabout. I don't know if anybody else was able to review the minutes.
Yeah, it was attached to the August 13th agenda.
I'll just pass them. I didn't have a chance to review it.
Okay.
And it was attached in the 4:30 email that came around too.
Do you want to hold off on approving it, David, or?
No, I think we should just move forward. I thought maybe it wasn't attached to anybody's, but if I'm the only person that didn't review it, that's fine.
Does anyone else then have any changes or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Can we just do a voice vote on this, RJ?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Okay, nobody's opposed.
Could we do an abstention just in case?
An abstention.
Okay, great.
Yes, any abstentions? Okay.
Yes, I'll abstain.
Got it. Thank you. Open time for the public now regarding items that are not on the agenda. Are there any members of the public who has a hand raised and wishes to speak right now?
So Tim Cooper has his hand raised, and I'm going to allow him to talk.
Okay, and Tim, thank you for coming. And Cam, please limit this to 3 minutes. Thank you, or less.
Okay, it's just nice to be here and to observe and hear what is being discussed for tonight. I'm not on the committee, but I just wanted to join in because I'm an active cyclist and pedestrian on the east side of Corte Madera. Thank you, and that's all.
Okay, Tim, thank you for attending the meeting. I appreciate it. Was there somebody else, RJ?
Yeah, we have one more hand raised, Gene Severinghouse.
Gene?
Hi, good evening, everybody. I am still looking very excitedly at the hash marks on the road for the dig and refill, I think it's called, Jared said, on the north end of Nellen. And I read something about certain pavement projects were possibly delayed at the last council meeting. And I wonder, Jared, if you could give me an update on whether those are going to be done sometime soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jared,
Yeah.
we're not supposed to discuss items not on the agenda. Was this going to be part of your report, or?
We can
brief.
We can
You
reference.
can give a brief reference. Great, go ahead.
Yeah, so just to clarify, Gene, the Nellen digouts that you're speaking of are proceeding forward, and they're not part of the upcoming micro surfacing project.
Part of an existing project that's already been approved by council.
It's not delayed. It's going to happen.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have another hand raised, Cindy Winters. I'm going to let her speak now.
Thank you, RJ.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Can you hear me?
Sure can.
All right. I just wanted to say hi and let you know I'm here. And last night, the Larkspur City Council had a meeting where Julian reported on his Measure B paving work that's going on over a number of years. And that's mostly for traffic, but after having cycled on some bad streets in Larkspur, cyclists also can benefit from smooth pavement. So we're making progress. That's all.
Thank you, Cindy. Is there anybody else who wants to speak at open time?
No more raised hands.
Okay, great.
And I checked public comment email, and that there's no emails to the public comment at tcmmail.org.
Great. Thank you, Jared. Appreciate it. Any committee member reports? Do we have any committees? I don't think so. So probably no committee member reports. Okay. Let's move on to discussion. First is 6A, the preventative maintenance project. And RJ and Jared, I think all this goes to you guys, right?
Sure does. And yeah, I'll let Jared take it away, and I'm here to answer questions and fill in any gaps. But yeah, we're excited about the progress, and so go ahead, and Jared.
Right. So I'm going to share a screen here. Let's make sure that it works. So can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Let's make it big here. Okay. So the first item I wanted to touch on was an update with our preventive maintenance project that's currently going on. And I wanted to touch base at a couple intersections along Madera Boulevard that we're doing some safety improvements to. And really just kind of highlight the improvements that we have on tap and see if there's any comments. This had come out, I emailed and we posted onto our website an update for this, and I was hoping for feedback a couple months back or more, and got some good feedback, and so we incorporated that. But just wanted to also refresh everyone's mind now that the construction is going on out there. But the intersection shown on the left here is Mohawk. It's the south end of Madera, Mohawk and Madera. And as you can see, it's an aerial view, and we're doing some realignment of that diagonal kind of sloped crosswalk.
If I may, let me just put a little context. So this is part of our larger program this year to slurry seal about 20 roads in town. And so this was a preventative maintenance project. And as part of that, naturally we would be, putting a new coating on the roadway and restriping. And so as part of that effort, we thought, let's look at opportunities for any sort of bike ped vehicular improvements on those roads when we come back to restripe. Since we're going to be paying to do that anyway, this is a prime opportunity. And so this is part of that evaluation where we looked at, improvements and enhancements. And this is one we thought was good. And we had moved this forward. Council has approved this, but it has not yet been constructed, or at least all the elements haven't been. And so we wanted to use this opportunity to just pick everyone's brain and get your feedback.
Yeah, thank you for that, RJ. Yeah, so starting from the north end of this image and working our way down, we have a little bit of modified striping. The median grew, and you can kind of see that width went from 3 feet to 6 feet wide, really to fit in a ped refuge right there in the middle, to allow the pedestrian use a safe crossing to a middle island area where they can seek refuge before they make their way all the way across.
Jared, will you zoom in to the one you're referring to?
Yes, I can do that.
And yeah, your cursor should be able to guide people as well.
So yeah, right here, this crosswalk, and we recreated a more aligned curb ramp right here. We pulled the face of curb out a little bit to slow that right-hand movement of a vehicle around this corner, and also bringing a pedestrian a little bit more visible. And then we added the rapid reflected flashing beacons here across this crosswalk as well. So yeah, much safer ped crossing environment, and the alignment should really help out with that. And then on the south
this is the
end
crossing that is nearest the gas station on the corner of Tamalpais.
Correct. And then on the south end of that intersection here, we did a similar kind of treatment on this corner with a little bit more of a sharper corner to slow the car turning, and also bring the ped out for visibility, reducing the crossing distance here. And then also part of this enhancement was originally this median here at the south side of this intersection bulged out quite a bit. And it created a pretty narrow passage for vehicles. And what's not shown in this screen are the several options for a vehicle going southbound approaching Tamalpais. And what was happening was if 3 or 4 extra cars piled up in the through lane here, someone coming southbound on Madera wanting to maybe just make a right in this wide open turn pocket here, can't do so because there's not enough width here, and it just an extra vehicle here stacked and it clogged it up. So now this little bit narrowing of this median has allowed this to fit a couple cars coming through, and also it doesn't neck down for cyclists coming through. It gives them a little bit more room. But yeah, so that's a brief little touch on some of the improvements here at this Mohawk intersection. Before I jump on, RJ, was there any other items you want to touch on for that intersection?
Just a procedural one, and I would defer to Bob ultimately, but I would suggest we could go through any comments from the committee and clarifications, and then we go through all of the items, which I think we have about 6 items, and then we can open up to the public at the end, and if we need to backtrack on slides, we can do that at that time.
I think I'm okay with that. First off, can we just stop and see if there's any questions from the committee members on this particular item? Is that okay, RJ?
Yes, and that was yes, that's exactly what I was suggesting. We go through the committee, and then after we go through the 6 sub items, we can open up the public, and if we need to revisit these, we can. Okay. So are there any BPAC member questions? No comments, just questions on this item so far.
This is Kirby. I have a question.
Go ahead.
The intersection or the crosswalk where you expanded the area to 6 feet there, it looks like, is there still going to be a left-hand turn lane, or it looks like the grind removed thermal striping, that's going to remove a left-hand turn lane. Is that correct?
No, the left-hand turn lane will remain. Right now it has a little split in it between the through right and the left. So that split will be removed. It's just a single stripe. It still is to remain at a 10-foot wide left-hand turn lane.
Yeah, there was excess width that we were able to capture.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from committee members? Okay, thank you. Then RJ and Jared, I guess you can move on to the next one.
All right. So the next intersection is north from the previous one, up at Monona, and here you can see this originally had 2 east-west crossings across the road and 1 north-south crossing across Monona. There's a dirt passage here to the Safeway parking lot originally. So that was the original crossing environment. And what we've done is we've eliminated the northern crossing, and that one was not well aligned with how pedestrians wanted to make their way to the shopping center. The natural pathway was here, as well as the redundancy in crosswalks we thought was unnecessary, and the southern crossing we felt actually was a safer crossing and location, and it provided better sight distance. So based on that, we eliminated the northern one and we improved the southern one. Some of the improvements include the Ped Refuge Island here, the RRFBs here, and the bowled out corner type A curb ramp, reducing the crossing distance. In a similar fashion as over by Mohawk, the striping was slightly modified as well to allow for the median here, but there's still a left-hand turn lane and a through lane here. And of note is the 7-foot bike lane, which is going to be a 2-foot buffer for a Class 2 northbound bike lane after we do our next microsurfacing project that will then be implemented. As of now, the result of this project is more of a temporary condition in which the striping that's presented here is going to be down, will be applied.
So this portion of Madera is listed on the town's bike master plan as a Class 2. And there was enough width for us to do buffered Class 2s, and so we thought that was a benefit. But it's not installed yet, so we definitely would welcome any comments on that if there's any downside that you can think of. But we thought it was a benefit, so that's what we've proposed in our construction documents, and that we would plan to do if you all are in agreement.
Okay, RJ and Jared, thank you. So to the BPAC now, are there any questions on this part of the project?
Like to talk about that one a little bit, just to understand it a little better.
Sure.
So it looks like you're now we're like, yeah, right where your cursor is, it's gonna be encouraged to take that folk path, I guess, toward the supermarket, where you have so you create a situation where you don't have a ramp, you're less than 5%, or you're 5%, but then you go and you're kind of dumped right off into the parking lot. Is there going to be a path of travel that extends all the way to the front of the store?
So yeah, I forgot to mention that little dirt path is getting some grading and concrete work to make it actually a concrete pathway connecting the parking lot. And then at the parking lot, the stalls over there are going to be restriped. Those first 4 stalls, the pathway kind of intersects between 2 parking stalls, so that intersection is going to be widened for a 4-foot hatched zone. And then the 2 adjacent on each side stalls will be created compact, will be narrowed a little bit. So there will be no loss in parking count for the shopping center. And that pathway will connect to a accessible, hatched, no parking spot, basically.
Yeah, so this comment did come about, and I don't recall if it was at BPAC or just through emails as something we should improve. And we reached out to the shopping center, and they were willing to coordinate and allowed us to do this work. And then given the width of the parking stalls, we were able to massage them a little bit to get that 4-foot kind of pedestrian aisle and still not lose any parking spots. So we thought it was a great improvement and definitely a benefit for anyone who would need the needs of the hardscape and the compliant path of travel.
I think an area of concern is now once you get to that aisle that's going to be striped, you're still going to be bumped right into a drive lane, basically the parking, ring road there. Whereas the other way, it's nice because I think your official path of travel is up north and you have a protected sidewalk pretty much all the way to the shopping center, except for, crossing the lanes. But here, where you're going on your new path there, it seems it would be beneficial for the shopping center to have some sort of indicator for cars coming through that, hey, there could be pedestrians, coming out of here. I mean, I guess I'm thinking out loud as I speak. I guess as expected as you talk and stuff, but I don't know. It just seems like the original path of travel that's protected and is a sidewalk will kind of become secondary now and maybe not used.
I think that's a fair comment. We can look at, so we have you can see in the photo a truncated dome, the yellow pad there that typically signifies that you're entering into an area with vehicles. I think we can consider some additional striping or something that would suggest that at the end of that aisle, they're entering a vehicle, a vehicle lane and a parking lot. So we can look into what options we might have there. But we did kind of, and maybe it was I don't know if it was flawed or not, but we just thought this was the right thing to do from an accessibility thing. Just it's being used now by able-bodied people, and we thought we should make it equivalent facility for those that aren't able-bodied.
Are there any other questions from BPAC committee members?
So I was just curious if the shopping center participated financially or will contribute.
No, they haven't given, nor have we requested them to.
Yeah, and again, this was kind of born out of just, it seemed like the right thing to do from an ADA perspective. I don't know that it's going to increase foot traffic, but we just thought to make it accessible to, everyone, able-bodied or not.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the BPAC members on this item? Okay, I don't hear any. RJ, do you mind if we just open this up to the public?
Oh, yeah, and that.
Because I know Cindy Winter's been talking about this for years. So,
okay, yeah,
and I bet she's here, and I bet she wants to talk. So,
no problem. Let's see, we got 2 hands raised. We're going to go to Tim Cooper, please. Let's see, Tim, are you able to? Let's see if I can.
Tim is muted.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to raise my hand.
Okay.
Thank
Not
you.
a problem.
Anyway.
Okay. Looks like Jean has her hand raised.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for these intersections. Really great improvements, and I've already seen some of the work go in. I particularly been asking about this for years because I rode across this with my dad. He's now 98, and at age 96 and a half, he was on his bike using the crosswalk, the southern crosswalk to cross, and he very suddenly discovered that there was a curb right in front of him after he hit the orange yellow ramp and had to kind of jump off really fast. So this is great that it'll go through to the parking lot. And that, I can't quite tell from the drawing, does saw cut remove but retain curb? Does that mean that curb that's in the way goes away or stays?
Goes away.
it goes away. Thank you. So the other thing I wanted to say is that kind of condition, I love what you've done, bless your hearts, it's so great. But where you come in through a convenient pedestrian entryway and then you're in the cars, it's the same condition when you cross the street down at the Tamalpais Freeway overcrossing, and then you turn to go in towards P.F. Chang or whatever that restaurant is, and you just get right into the parking lot. And it'd be lovely if the shopping center at some point would make the pedestrian access much more friendly, but I'm thrilled if they're moving lines over and making room that you can actually go in here through the natural path of travel. So thank you so much for this.
Okay, thank you, Jean. Is there anybody else who wishes to comment on this topic? Okay.
Sorry, I see one more, Cindy Winters.
Okay, go ahead, Cindy.
Or maybe her hand dropped.
Yes, I have one comment on the bike lane. I think I heard you say that maybe it would be buffered and maybe it wouldn't be, but I would encourage you to buffer it, because I remember reading somewhere not too long ago that if a bike lane is buffered, the more timid, cautious cyclists, the beginners, feel much more comfortable riding on it. And when there's just a white line between them and the traffic, it may be more psychological than anything, but if you can fit in a buffer, even a small one, I think that would be helpful to encourage cycling.
Okay, thank you, Cindy.
Can I comment, Bob?
I don't know who
Cheryl.
is.
Cheryl.
Oh, okay, you know what, can we finish, we'll finish public comment and then we'll bring it back to the BPAC. So let me see is there anybody else from the public who wants to speak on this topic?
No.
Okay, then we will close public comment and we'll come back to the BPAC for comments, and it sounds like Cheryl has something to say for sure.
Okay, well, first going back to the Mohawk intersection, I really appreciate that you guys were aware of the problem of the cars backing up. They back up from the stoplight at Tamalpais all the way to Mohawk sometimes because people, they want to get onto the southbound 101, and so they don't go into the left turn lane, they go into the lane that's, I think it's 2 options, straight ahead or left turn. So everyone's in that lane and it backs up, and this will really help. I think people will still back up, but you can get by that. So really, really appreciate that. And I like the idea on the Monona intersection, as Cindy said, having buffered lanes likely to encourage biking. I would just, I don't know how it works to allow the left turn because people will be making left turns on their bikes from Madera onto Monona. So we'll look at that design when it comes up, but I'm glad that's in the works, or at least you're considering it.
Okay, thank you.
And to clarify that, yeah, we are proposing buffered class 2s.
Okay. Are there any other BPAC members who wish to comment on this? Anything to say? No? Okay. Great work, gentlemen. Thank you. And let's move on to the next one.
All right. So here, still talking about Madera. What we wanted to kind of float out to BPAC was the idea of putting the green-backed bike legends along the Class 2 in both directions along Madera Boulevard as part of our, after we come and microsurface the road, which is to be constructed in September, pending bid opening tomorrow. But one thing we wanted to get some feedback on is the location of those greenback legends, if that's something that the BPAC is interested in. And so what I've kind of dropped in here is the extent of Madera. So the north end over here at Council Crest and Tamil Vista, and then the south end over here by Tamalpais. One thing to note is we have these two side streets along Madera Boulevard that kind of come in and go out. And I've tried to show those locations to help define where the bike legend would go. And what we're proposing in the southbound direction here is a bike legend just after the entrance to that side street, and then just before the exit of that side street, and then picking back up the same treatment for this side. And then that would be all of it for northbound, and then all of it for southbound, and then the northbound side, similar fashion, just after the parking lot exit here, to put one, and then right before the parking lot entrance to Safeway in Town Center Shopping, and right after the entrance, and then right after the intersection with Monona, and then right before the intersection up here where Madera turns to Madera.
And
so
to clarify, I think more of the ask is just the concurrence to use the greenback legends as opposed to your conventional ones that don't have the greenback. You know, we're open to suggestions on location, but I think they're pretty standard as shown.
Okay. Anything else, gentlemen?
Pretty brief on that one.
I thought so. Any questions from the BPAC on that?
Yeah.
Cheryl, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is just a Shero, what's sometimes called Shero or shared lane marker, or is it? And it's just in green, or is this signify something different?
So it would be equivalent to the class 2 bike lane legend, but with a green backing. So a different than a Shero. Shero is more of your shared roadway type of facility.
Okay, so it's actually going to go in the lane, the bike
Correct.
lane, not in the traffic.
Correct. And we did put these are in place at Stanford as part of the recent project about a year ago. So as you approach Tamalpais from Casa Buena Stanford, you'll see that it's a larger green lane, but you have the bike lane legend overlaid over the green.
And is this a thermoplastic?
Correct.
And does that have any impact on the maintenance or the longevity of the pavement?
No, but there is just the maintenance and cost of replacing them in the future. So as you can imagine, you know, more square footage of thermoplastic has a price that goes with it. So if you come back and you repair the road in 5 to 7 years, you're going to be essentially redoing that cost of effort. But it doesn't degrade the pavement necessarily any more than a regular legend.
So question, I think I heard this. These are going to go in the bike lane, not in the street.
Correct.
Okay. Not where the cars go, but where the bikes go.
Yes.
It's all street.
So can you clarify for me the dimensions? I think you said northbound, you had 7 feet of real estate to work with. So that would be 5 feet for the bike lane and a 2-foot buffer. Is that right?
Correct.
And how about going southbound? How much real estate do you have for is that a class 2 on southbound?
It is a class 2. Yeah, we have about 5 feet of a bike lane to work with. We have that median, and then the other median that separates that side street. So it's a tighter fit in there. I believe it's an 11-foot travel lane and a 5-foot bike lane.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the BPAC on this? No? Okay. Any member of the public have a comment on this?
Cindy Winters, I'm gonna let her comment.
While you were talking, something that happened to me many years ago entered my brain. I was riding my bicycle toward Tamalpais, but I had just left Madera by Council Crest. And between Council Crest and Monona, there's a curvature in the road that is fairly sharp. And a large truck came along behind me and could not make that turn. And I almost got hit by the back of this large truck. And I wonder whether anybody has thought of that or taken a look at it. I could prepare a drawing or sketch and send it to you. I may still have my old sketch somewhere in my files.
So Cindy, was that turning on to Monona? Turning on to
I
Monona?
didn't hear you.
Southbound on Madera, turning on to Monona?
No, between Council Crest and Monona. It's about 2/3 of the way. Let's see, I can put my pointer on it. Can you see my pointer? It's right about here.
I don't believe we can see your pointer.
Okay.
Or is it,
Well, if you move,
or, oh wait, okay, I guess we can.
Yeah, we
That's
can.
my
move your
pointer.
right pointer a little bit north, just a tiny bit. There, right? No, just now back a little bit south. It's right in there. And the way I saw it at the time, I thought that curve should be made a little less sharp. It should be made more gradual.
We can take a look at it. We've got some turning templates. We can take a look at it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other members of the public who want to talk about this? If not, we'll bring it back to the BPAC for any comments or input. Okay, then we will move off of this discussion item and head on to the next one, which is striping opportunities. And it looks like there's 3 different striping opportunities. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Yeah, so here's the first of those 3. This will be another brief one, but San Clemente is going to be part of that microsurfacing project that we're speaking of, and as a result, we will be laying back down striping in there, and kind of wanted to touch base on the update there, which is there's a 5-foot Class 2 bike lane on both sides.
I could jump in here, Jared. So we had gotten a comment, I believe it was from Bjorn from MCBC, about trying to improve, the bike infrastructure here. And so we took a look at it because we were resurfacing or slurry sealing this section of roadway, and it's pretty constrained already. And so, yeah, we do have one idea that we think will improve it. But as mentioned, it is constrained. So the improvement is just putting a 6-inch stripe in lieu of the 4, which is currently there on the edge line between the travel lane and the bike facility.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of room, as RJ said, and if you guys have any reason not to do that or suggestions otherwise.
Did you? Okay. Well, so then, are there any questions? We're going to go through all 3. Yeah, go ahead. Who is that? Kirby?
Okay, so you're going to take it from 4 to 6. If I look on the drawing, it looks like it's 5 right now.
4 inches wide.
It's
The stripe.
the stripe itself. Yeah.
Is 4 inches. Okay, so you're going to increase bike lane stripe. Oh, you're just going to make it thicker.
Yeah, it's and that this day and age that's standard, but it just kind of shows that it's going to be a slight improvement from what's there now. We thought we exhausted all options on this one, other than it's a maintenance project. Certainly, if it was a full paving job, we could talk about moving curbs and stuff, but in the scope of a maintenance project, this is the best we could do on this one.
All right. Thanks.
Any further questions on San Clemente Drive?
So my question is, do you really need 11 feet for that center right and left-hand turn lane?
One thing I would say, and this is kind of a interesting topic, but there's not a lot of staging in town, and if you've noticed, this is one of maybe 2 places that construction vehicles stage in town. So it's not officially acknowledged or condoned, but it does happen. So I do have concerns about removing it and just kind of the back end effect of what that might do for our projects, as we move forward. Sure, maybe you could, grab a foot there and then you're trying to add an extra 6 inches somewhere, but on either side. But I personally would leave it as is.
Okay, and the other question I have is, does it make sense to consider those greenback cycling signs, since you're going to be repaving anyway?
Yeah, this one, another judgment call. There is the Class 1 facility adjacent. So do you want to encourage more riders on San Clemente or not? The greenbacks may do that. They may not. So that's kind of there's a balancing act on whether we do that or not here. It certainly would fit. Yeah.
Any further questions from the BPAC on San Clemente Drive? Okay, why don't we go through all 3 slight striping opportunities and then we'll open up to the public. So the next one's Corte Madera Avenue.
Yeah, so a very similar type treatment here. We're proposing to increase that edge line to make that a little more bold. But the difference here on Corte Madera Ave is the Class 3 facility that exists, and we're going to be removing as part of our as part of our microsurfacing project. We'll be removing all the striping off the road and then putting it back. So as you can see in the picture here, a little bit of a faded Class 3 Legend will be reinstated with the greenback version that's currently there in the southbound direction. Northbound will get the greenback Sharrows as they're called as well. So yeah, that's again, we're limited on availability of roadway width. There has been questions and inquiries about looking into possible Class 2 facility going up the hill, and I think that is a bigger project, more than just this maintenance treatment, as it's a pretty tight roadway. It would require quite a bit of additional work and pavement and sidewalk widening and
retaining walls as well.
Yeah, retaining walls.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions from the BPAC on Corte Madera Avenue?
Bob, I have significant comments, but no questions right now.
Okay, we'll come back. We'll circle back for comments. Anybody else? Okay, then Redwood Avenue at Pixley intersection.
Yeah, so here, this is kind of one of those intersection improvements that we've, along the lines of the Madera intersections, and we're looking at curb ramp bulb outs. This is part of our current curb ramp job that we're doing this work. This will be starting shortly. It's already been approved by council, and it's part of that ongoing construction project. This will not be resurfaced as part of our microservicing upcoming job. So everything that we hear and we're tonight and we're going to try to implement will be part of this project that we're working on, that's constructing now. It won't be part of the microsurfacing, but anyways, the improvements here are widened corners at Redwood as it intersects. As you might be aware, cars driving northbound on Pixley have a little bit of an acute turn here onto westbound Redwood Avenue. And a common complaint or observation is that the cars start to cheat that corner a little bit and come close and just try to swing it in tight, and that's a risk to these pedestrians wanting to cross. It's a risk to cyclists and cars traveling eastbound on Redwood. So some of the improvements that we're looking at are to add a double yellow stripe here, and an improvement since the creation of this project was to even further enhance that center line with maybe some raised pavement markers. You might call them bots dots or smooth buttons, but something like that to really give the motorist a reminder that they should be extending all the way beyond before they're making the left-hand turn. It really slows that vehicle down too, makes it a safer travel environment for the motorists, and then for the pedestrians, the curb ramp bulb outs help to reduce that crossing distance, pull them out closer to the intersection for visibility, and then across the east and west, across Pixley, the addition of a rapid flashing beacon to help those pedestrians cross for vehicles coming down southbound on Pixley. And
if I can add to that, so this was a Safe Pathways grant fund we received about this time last year, and this is also an intersection that lost a crossing guard as of the last round. So we really took it as a kind of priority to make this happen for this school year, assuming school would be in person, and we hope it, at some point when it's safe, it does return that, and then they'll have this improved intersection. And then getting to the bots dots, that location where the slender red rectangle is, we considered some other things such as raised curbs and whatnot, but because of fire trucks and other larger vehicles, that would have caused issues for them. And so we think this is appropriate, but open to feedback.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the BPAC on this particular Redwood Avenue Pixley?
So I don't know if this is a question or comment, but what would be, I guess you considered raised pylons instead of the what's sometimes referred to as a box dots, but is the problem again with the turning radius of the fire truck if you had a 3-foot pylons there?
Yeah, we definitely want something that fire trucks can traverse over. They won't be able to make this turn without crossing that line.
Okay.
There might be some other strategies if we need to, but yeah, that would be the guiding or the constraining criteria.
Any other questions from the BPAC? Okay, then we will open up now for public comment. We just talked briefly about 3 different striping opportunities: San Clemente Drive, Corte Madera Avenue, and Redwood Avenue at Pixley Avenue intersection. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on any of these items?
As of this moment, there are no hands raised.
No hands raised. Okay. Give it another few seconds. Okay, I guess we will close public comment and we'll bring it back to the BPAC for any comments or input on these 3 striping opportunity projects.
So I have Kirby, go ahead.
Kirby had his hand up.
Yeah, I just put make a comment on San Clemente. I'm glad you brought it up, RJ, about the staging area in the center. As a person who lives on the east side of Corte Madera, first give a shout out to Tim Cooper. A few people participate here from the east side of Corte Madera, so there's a shout out there for him participating. Secondly, that middle area is often used as a staging area, and I see them unloading cars and whatnot, and I always think, why the heck are they doing that here? And then I had to think to myself, if there was a better place to do that, they would be doing it somewhere else. But it is a staging area. For those of you on the west side, probably don't realize that that center lane is is used quite a bit, to my surprise and my guess. Like I said, I think there's probably, if there was a better place, they'd be doing it elsewhere. So yeah, I would love to see wider bike lanes, but somewhere we need to accommodate everybody. So I get what you're trying to do.
Kirby, thank you. David, I think you're...
Yeah, well, I'll have one comment on San Clemente. I think upon further reflection, RJ, I think you're right. The judgment call would be to not use the greenbacks because of the class 1 that already exists. And I think most of the cyclists who stay in the roadway in the class 2 probably are more sophisticated, faster cyclists, and they don't need the greenbacks to remind them of where they should go, and it would be confusing could be confusing anyway to distract from the class 1. So I think it's wise to not put greenbacks there. And my more significant comments have to do with Corte Madera Avenue, because there was a long history of the BPAC working with Public Works when Barry Hogue was still the director. And what we attempted to do was to do an asymmetrical stripe job to match what Mill Valley had done on theirs. And you guys probably, I don't know if you know the full history, but the idea was that the motor vehicle lane would be 10'6" on the downhill side, but there would be no, the fog line would go right up to the edge of the pavement. There would be no extra on the downhill side because cyclists would obviously keep up with the flow of traffic coming downhill. And then on the uphill side, the motor vehicle lane would be 10'6", which would in some places create a shoulder of 3 foot or more. And here's the problem that occurred. Coastland Engineering did a great job of cat tracking, I think it's called, putting the little white dots that would guide the thermoplastic striper. And they tracked it. So obviously the center yellow line is not in the actual center of the road. It's pushed farther to the left on the uphill side. And Coastland put the cat tracks, but no one told the thermoplastic machine operator that the idea was to create an asymmetrical striping so that there would be greater passing distance for cyclists using the shoulder. And so the striper did not follow the cat tracks. And so you've got it 10'6" in some places, and then it goes to 12 foot, 12'4". It widely varies because he eyeballed it instead of following the 10'6". So it's not worth rehashing, but I was more than a little bit ticked off about that, and Barry contemplated having them redo it. Of course, that meant grinding off the thermoplastic, and then Barry left, and so it's stopped. So I give you that long-winded explanation to say that when we resurface this, first of all, I really like the Public Works to consider even a more narrow motor vehicle lane going uphill. If it's 10'3" on the downhill, 10'3" on the uphill, you're going to create more real estate for motor vehicles going uphill to pass cyclists, and everyone knows that cycles there, it's dangerous to pass. And then just really make sure that whoever puts down the cat tracks and whoever operates the thermoplastic striper knows what the goal is to create more of a shoulder for passing. If that can be just emphasized so we don't have the problems that happened 3 years ago.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, if I can make a comment on that, I agree 100% on that. If there's a way to make the climbing lane better going uphill, even if it's just moving, the variability that they did on the uphill side from the Mill Valley side is much better when you get on our side of the hill. So if I'm following what David's saying, if we can use that same thing on the uphill and downhill car traffic to keep those squeezed, to where they need to be and have the variability in the uphill bike lane, that would be a huge win for everybody.
Thank you. Any further comments?
I'd like to just say thank you for looking at the intersection at is someone else talking?
Somebody needs to mute their microphone.
Oh.
If you're not talking, please mute your microphone. If you're not talking.
Thing and how bad I was and how I looked and everything. She said it takes one to know one.
Bob, I have a comment about Pixley.
Okay.
I'm not I'm not sure that the bot dots will do the job that intended there. I'm wondering if we could put in the southern end of that red box, put a couple bollards there and then put the bot dots, so that I think for people driving in a car, they'll be less likely to cut the corner as we've described, and that still allow enough turning space for the fire trucks. I think if you could consider that. Maybe just one or two bollards. I think it alerts the drivers.
If I may, I think when you say bollards, are you referring to the plastic delineators?
Yeah, that they can be anywhere from, I think, maybe 2.5 feet to 3.5 feet tall.
So what I would suggest is we start with the botch dots, we monitor and observe those and if they're effective or not. And then if you've been over on Almonte Boulevard, near Highway 1 in Mill Valley, they've actually used the delineators, but they've cut them at maybe 6 to 12 inches above the pavement. And if we need to, we can try that treatment to further create a visual buffer.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Any further comments from other BPAC members?
Just a quick comment on when it's time to resurface Redwood. I'd just like to replant a seed that I've thought for a long time, that if there was parking on only one side of the street on Redwood, creating room for class 2 bike lanes, if there's enough real estate there, I think that would be a real advantage for the kids cycling to school.
Okay. Any other BPAC members? If not, then I'll just roll in and echo what David had said about the uphill portion on Corte Madera Avenue. We did miss a real opportunity. That was a major project to get that restriped. And if we can get that uphill side bike lane widened, it would greatly enhance the safety on that, because it's just super tight in a couple of spots. So if we could do that, that'd be great.
Oh, here's Bo Biden. Oh, he's dead.
Hello?
Absolutely, and thank you. That's the exact type of information that is great for us, not knowing the full history, so thank you.
Okay.
Hey, RJ, and you could maybe mute some of the people who are participants. They may not realize they're not on mute.
I'll mute all just as a clear, and then we can go from there. Okay, so everyone is currently muted. If you need to speak, you can unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that, Kirby. Good idea. You're a Zoom meeting expert. Let's move on to item 7A, sidewalk programs update.
All right. So this was, you guys might recognize quite a bit of this presentation. It was an item at BPAC in February at our last meeting, but due to COVID and we had actually slated this work for a new staff member that we have not yet acquired. So this work hasn't been actually implemented yet. So we wanted to bring it back and refresh everybody's memories.
Yeah, if I could jump in. So at the last meeting, we talked about some of the strategies that San Rafael and other agencies are doing on the sidewalk program. We got great feedback from BPAC, and if I recall correctly, there was kind of advice to say, hey, go ahead and start doing the $50,000 in shaving and some other things. We were prepared to do that, and then all of a sudden COVID happened, and kind of, at least for a moment in time, threw our budgets up in the air, and we weren't sure that we really didn't know where our budget was for 3 to 5 months, and I guess there's still some uncertainty there. And so we just thought it was prudent to kind of pump the brakes and bring it back. I think we have a little more clarity on where we are, and I think it's in a better spot. And then also, we've had some conversations with council, and there's a desire for us to present a pilot program, a sidewalk pilot program to them, more or less in October timeframe. And so this is, we're kind of presenting some preliminary thoughts that we would later take to council to formalize this. And one point that Jared mentioned that we're still grappling with is just kind of staffing issues. We had a associate engineer recruitment that we penciled in as leading this effort, and we had to basically cancel that recruitment due to budget implications from COVID. And so now we're exploring how we can get some bandwidth with our staffing to move this forward, but we'll continue to work through that after we receive your advice here on this program.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So the current budget allocates about $200,000 toward these miscellaneous sidewalk and street upgrades, to which we're looking at 50,000. We're proposing 50,000 per year for the next 2 fiscal years, really contributing to the sidewalk offset mitigations. And we kind of have the 2 different pots or segregation of projects and implementations that we're looking at, and that's the CIP, or capital improvement project, going along with where we're doing our major street improvements, and then also as part of the BRIP aspects too.
And Jared will move into new slides, but when we say sidewalk offset mitigations, that's the vertical lips that you'll see between panels, and those are the ones that you can shave down relatively easy. So up to about a 2-inch lip, we would spend $50,000 a fiscal year and shave those down where appropriate. And so that's one of 3 strategies that we'll discuss here and seek your advice and feedback on.
So to take a step back, we kind of looked over at San Rafael for their pilot program that they did in 2016. Kind of took some notes from their effort there, and one thing that they have is they have a grant program that helps pay for these grinding efforts, and what we're looking at doing is modeling after that 100% payment for up to that 1.5-inch deep offset, in which can be ground down, and then separately we'd be looking at a 50% match for sidewalk full removal and replacement, as another measure as part of the pilot program. And obviously those can get pretty costly, so we cap that at $1,000 per occurrence to help out. And then for curb and gutter removal and replacement, there's a $4,000 max there. Typically, that if we're going through with a
Jared, if I can jump in. Yeah, so this is more just a report on what they do, and then we'll go in later slides and kind of speak to what we recommend. But this is currently what San Rafael adopted.
Okay, their program, yeah. So that curb and gutter replacement's 4,000 a max, but up to that, it's a full 100%. And then tree removal, they have a aspect for that as well. This just shows real briefly the different jurisdictions that do have ordinance language for the owner, who is the owner of sidewalks. I won't go through the details here.
And this is a slide that has been presented at BPAC at least twice now. Essentially, it's saying that most agencies put the fronting property owner as the responsible party for maintaining sidewalk. Next slide.
Yeah. And then here, just kind of giving some visuals to what we're talking about. The removal and replacement on the left there, you can't really mitigate that with grinding. Some sidewalk just needs to come out. Not shown there, but also an example is if we're significant offsets. There are some locations where the sidewalk is lifted 3 inches or more, and that can't feasibly be ground down. So that's a remove and replace. So we have removal and replacement at the bigger and the more damaged areas, and then saw cutting, which is basically taking the lip and grinding it or saw cutting it to an ADA compliant slope to mitigate that offset. And you can kind of see that in the side pictures there. There's a couple big benefits of doing the saw cut versus just global removal and replacement, because you certainly could remove and replace the offsets shown on the right. But there's obviously the environmental savings where we're not pouring a bunch more concrete and taking a concrete truck out and the time and effort that requires, and then the cost savings as well when we do these large scale grinding efforts. They can really knock out quite a few of these locations all at once. So that results in some significant cost savings. So here's a few locations that we're looking at implementing the shaving within the current fiscal year that we're at. There was the image on the left is our last paving project from last year, and we're really going to try to pick off the sidewalk offsets, the minor offsets there. Adjacent to the streets we've just paved. So that would be an example of a capital improvement project. So where we're going to be paving, we would go along those streets and take care of the identified offsets. So the middle image is Council Crest, which is part of the Tamil Vista repavement project. And then on the right, the Meadow Ridge, we'd also be picking up those as part of this. And I think this totals, if I'm not mistaken, RJ, this is the 757.
Correct, 757 offsets for about 52,000. So as you can see, that's very cost effective. And these at one point, these roads were all envisioned as part of a prior paving job, but they've been broken out into different projects since. The goal would be to be in kind of lockstep unison with our paving projects, where we're doing kind of the whole thing all at once, as opposed to going back and picking up these pieces later. But we just need to get our programs aligned and formalized, and then that's the ultimate goal.
Here's just a graphic that kind of drives home the cost savings aspect. On the left, you see the significant costs required for removal and replacement. But with this concrete shaving technique, it's significant savings in just doing the grinding effort or shaving effort, and there kind of paints the picture itself. So
if I could take this one, Jared.
Sure.
So this is kind of where we're at. Where we'd like to get your feedback. we see 3 strategies, and it's slightly different than Santa Fe. I think they have they have a lot of application processes, so a lot of individual homeowners applying. That's something we might incorporate into the strategy number 3 here, but also, we would do as part of number 1, $50,000 of shaving that would be, town-led effort. We would, formally have requests that the town fund sidewalk replacements as part of CIP projects as a one-time effort. And then lastly, number 3 would be, it could be 2 things. It could be your neighborhood that wants to get together and do a widespread project. We've had some feedback that possibly Mariner Cove and some other neighborhoods are interested in that. And so we would do a coordinated effort to do a large stretch there. And it also could incorporate that individual property owner who wants to apply for 50-50 matching funds.
And which kind of, wraps up and kind of wanted to summarize and draw us back to where we are now and how do we get to the finish line. So basically kind of do a troubleshooting meeting with Santa Fe and talk about some of their lessons learned, and really try to figure out any of issues or roadblocks that they encountered that we can try to avoid. As RJ did mention, the additional staffing, I think, is an integral part of the delivery of this. So we're currently trying to get that assistance, and hopefully we do. But we'll definitely welcome that. And then the draft pilot program is kind of what we're still trying to cook up the final script for, and obviously want to get any BPAC's feedback to really tie the loose ends on this and try to make that as seamless as possible. And then once we get that program buttoned up, then we can send it over to town council, present it, and really go through it for possible adoption. And then based on town council's input and direction, we would like to then start implementing this and really get the sidewalks all sharpened up. So that kind of concludes our quick little.
Okay. And what exactly, are you just looking for feedback or questions from us, Jared, or?
Yeah. Any feedback you have on, have we put enough money in the proper categories? Does the overall concept make sense to attack it in those 3 ways, with the shaving, with the, what we do on the capital improvement projects? Mainly we're talking about, our paving projects. And then third, that kind of twofold 50% match on those individuals that want to apply for this grant, and then others would be the neighborhood kind of coordinated, wide scale type efforts.
Okay. Why don't we start then and see, are there any BPAC members who have questions for RJ and Jared about these programs? Yes, Kirby.
So as I'm hearing this, there's some people that live in Corte Madera who could just have you guys show up and repair the sidewalk in front of their house based on number 1 and number 2. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we would have to develop how we would probably send a notice saying, we'll be coming to your neighborhood, and we'll be doing a bunch of concrete shaving. This will be a one-time effort to reduce trip hazards. If you want to opt out, please sign this form. Otherwise, we'll assume that you want us to perform this work.
Okay, so in that case, they're not paying anything. But if somebody, say in another part of Corte Madera where you're not working, has a sidewalk problem, if they want to do something about it, you pay 50%. you guys cover 15% or 50%, right? Is that how?
Yeah, there would be an application process, and then they could potentially do 50%. Or yeah, and we would encourage them to do that as opposed to just let it sit there as a hazard and wait for us to pave their road.
Okay, just want to make sure I understood it. Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I have one. So where there are areas then where there are big offsets in the sidewalk, do you come in and then would you actually tell them you got to do something about this if they weren't part of the program, or how does that work? I think it's complaint driven right now, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, so typically, currently now, if it's brought to our attention that there's a tripping hazard, we do send them a notice of violation. Secondly, as part of our pavement design or pavement projects, we're on the ground, we're walking them, and so we make an effort to catalog the sidewalks. So we do take on that kind of responsibility of looking at those as part of paving jobs, but we wouldn't necessarily go driving every street in Corte Madera looking for these outside of those paving jobs, and we would rely on complaints.
Thank you. Any other questions from the BPAC?
Yeah, just follow up on that. So if a citizen makes a complaint, then it would, and you send a letter, notice of violation, then it would be probably become, unless there was a capital improvement project there, it would become an owner-initiated repair. And they might be eligible for 50% match if they got within the budget.
Right, so that our letter would change, you know, as it stands now, it would say, notice of violation per our Muni code, it's your responsibility and you have to do it at your cost, not exactly in those words. If we were to adopt this program, we would say you have a notice of violation. However, we have this, you know, grant program that offers 50% match that you can apply for.
Okay. Any further questions from committee members? If not, we'll see if there are any members of the public who wish to comment on this item. RJ, I'm showing on my screen Patty Stolier has her hand up.
Yes, thank you. Patty, you are live.
Hello. First, I just wanted to thank you very much for addressing the sidewalks, because when we did the survey 5 years ago for age-friendly, sidewalk safety was one of the top priorities for older people in Corte Madera. So thank you for getting on that. And in terms of staffing, I'm wondering about this new intern program that the town is having. Maybe some interns could be assigned to something to do with that program. That's all.
Yeah, we have a candidate that we are interviewing in the coming weeks, so we're excited about the potential there.
Excellent.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to comment on this item from the public? Okay. I don't see anybody else. RJ?
No raised hands.
Okay, then let's bring it back to the BPAC then for feedback, ideas, thoughts. Anybody want to say anything further about this?
So, well, my comment really is about public outreach. I'm sort of reminded of what happened in February after 2 years of the Madera project being open to the public, and how many times the roundabout was brought up, that we got the gut punch of neighbors saying, oh, we just learned about this. And I don't know that I could really weigh in very intelligently on what is the best of these three approaches, mainly because we really don't have sidewalks up where we live on Corte Madera Avenue. So I'm just thinking that this is really something before the town council considers what to approve, that we should probably be doing a lot more public outreach before even the BPAC makes any advisory decisions or Public Works takes it to the town council.
Okay.
And I just wanted to add a clarification. So this draft proposal in front of you is using all three strategies, not perhaps that was understood, but versus picking one out of the three. And then separately, we would be proposing it as a pilot program, so it would give us that flexibility year to year to make adjustments.
So you're saying you'd go ahead with all three and spend $250,000?
That is what we're proposing here.
Wow. Any further feedback from the council committee members? If I can just say, then I'll just jump in. It's a great program. It is so needed, and I've had so many issues with this over the years. This would be fantastic, and I hope we can figure out a way. I mean, I don't know how we're going to find the budget to go ahead with it, but at least at this level. But if we can at least get started on it, I think it just solves a huge, huge number of problems in town for people. So great work. Thank you very much. Okay, then I think that wraps up 7A, sidewalk program update, and brings us to number 8, future agenda items. Is there any committee members who have suggestions or input for future agenda items they think we should be dealing with?
So what I'd like to revisit next meeting, we had, when Nisha was still employed, we had considered a number of locations for signage that was the new signage for, must provide 3-foot passing to motor vehicles when they're overtaking a bicycle. And I don't know that the BPAC ever weighed in and decided on what the locations would be. I don't know how many signs were considered. I don't know how many have actually gone up, if any. And so I'd like to see that come back to the BPAC, and maybe Public Works can find Nisha's notes on the locations that were under consideration.
Okay, thank you, David. Anyone else want to consider future agenda
I have
items?
one to just ask where it is as an agenda item. And I guess I thank you for, working on San Clemente Drive and that striping and things. I ride my bike through there, 5 or 6 times a week. And to me, there's a missing link that I hope is on someone's agenda somewhere. And I know I've heard it discussed from time to time over the last 3 or so years that I've been on the committee. But the real, for me, going from the east side of Corte Madera to the west side of Corte Madera, the overpass on Tamalpais Drive, and I ride over that with my 10-year-old son, 11-year-old son, now 12-year-old son, and there's zero striping on the overpass. So to me, something like temporary at least needs to be done, or I just don't know where that is. And I know there for a while they didn't want to talk about it because there were some bigger designs and things happening. But right now, I think it's a big, it's a big problem and potential for conflict because there's no striping for automobiles or bikes in either direction over the overpass right now. So anyway, I just wanted to know, is anything happening, and can we talk about it next time, or what the plan is there?
Okay, thank you. We will give it to RJ and Jared to consider. Any other comments for future agenda items?
Could we get a brief update on what's happening on the east side from the Montessori School, Marin Country Day, trying to connect back, that bike path or multi-use path?
Yeah, so an update on what's going on Paradise Drive,
Yes,
basically.
please. Yeah.
And then maybe, Paradise Drive, another one that we ride a lot from over here. But
Okay. Anything else? Okay, if not, it's been a while since we met. I'm glad we got to meet again. And thank you all so much for your attendance and your input. Thank you to the public for attending via Zoom or whatever we're on here. And thank you. And I believe we're now adjourned. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.